Welcome to this episode of Weather Wise Guys. I'm here with meteorologist Evan Chickfera. I'm meteorologist Wes Perry. Evan, am I pronouncing your last name correctly? I've known you for so long, and sometimes I think I'm mispronouncing your last name.
It's Chick Vera. I think you said it
Okay,
right.
I
That would be
did.
like me calling you Wes Perry after knowing you, for 15 years. But
Hey,
that's cool.
I still have some friends that spell my last name wrong on Christmas cards, so it's
All right.
not too out of the ordinary.
Did you get ours? I think we spelled your last name right.
Oh, you're
I spelled
good.
it myself.
No, you're good. You're good. Two E's, one R. I got an award in which, because I helped out with a STEM camp, in which they spelled West Perry.
You sound like you're from London. Oh, there,
Yeah,
Wes Perry.
yeah. And
What
so
you
I
doing,
could,
mate?
I wanted to post a thank you picture, like thanks for the award, but it's like I can't post that. I'm just making fun of them.
You're making us sound less of wise guys and more of can we trust these weather wackadoos?
Well, we do know how to say each other's names, so you
It's a good start.
can trust us on that. That's for sure. Okay, all right. Evan, what do you want to talk about today? Of course, there's big snow situation going on. Recording this on January 2nd, by the way.
Yeah,
So
Happy
there's
New
a
Year, everybody. This is our first episode of the new year, second overall. Weather-wise, guys, trying to start something here. Hopefully, we grab your attention, but no shortage of weather headlines here over the last week or the upcoming week.
I think that's what we settled on, right? Weather-wise, guys,
I think so,
for the
unless
name.
somebody says otherwise.
um, so yeah, big cold outbreak coming. Snow forecast. We'll get into all that stuff. I have picked the city. Google Gemini has picked the city for a forecast competition, which would be Sacramento, California, I believe.
Sacramento. All right. It'll be a learning experience.
I feel like that'll be easy. Not much goes on.
Yeah, I guess. You got the mountains always play a role. I feel like you though this week trying to figure out the snow situation. I'm like, how does West do this in the wintertime?
It's kind of like after you don't do it for 6 months, you remember how you're supposed to do it. You're like, all right, I just need you haven't ridden a bike in a year. Like, all right, that's how I do it. And then you just get
You
right back
crashed a
into it.
couple times first before you remember it.
Yeah, there was a slight hiccup in the first snowfall forecast. There's a slight hiccup, and then we're good from here on out. So before we do all that, Evan, you guys had some severe weather last week now,
Yeah.
which is not that unusual for you all.
No, it's not. Actually, if you just go back a couple years, we've had a couple tornado events in December, which, a lot of people think December, what do you mean severe weather? But here, we're so close to the Gulf West that you get a southerly wind for a couple days and you could be in the mid 70s. Our record for highs on Christmas Day is 78 and it was set back in 2016. The second record to that or in second place was 2015. It was 77 and we had wild weather in 2015. So it's certainly not, unheard of. It is unfortunate though. This is a look at. I'll pop up my screen here, but what you're going to be looking at is the SPC. These are still considered preliminary storm reports. And Wes, I'm sure every forecasting office does it different, but here in Birmingham, they usually wait until pretty much all of the tracks and surveys are done before they put out the official storm report. So I just grabbed a KML file.
Mm.
And what you're seeing here is a look, and I just have this pan back to Texas. And this is from the morning of December 28th all the way through basically that Saturday night and up until 6Z is, I believe, what it goes to, which is very early on Sunday morning. But for all intents and purposes, this was the Saturday outbreak here. And you see the handful of tornadoes that were across southwestern Mississippi. There was a lot of instability there. Here we had a pretty sizable wind event with a line here, but we were certainly helped by the fact that it actually rained during the day. People reaching out, they said, "Hey, is it going to rain during the day? Limit the severe threat." And if you have rain preceding a potential severe weather event, a lot of times that will do wonders for limiting instability. So where you see all those tornado reports back in Mississippi, and I actually have the numbers here. On that day, Wes, there was 308 wind reports. So that's wind damage, estimated winds 58 plus. That's a pretty active day. And this was a day that was described as by the SPC, I believe, as moderate from Jackson to Meridian, and we even had three of our western counties in that moderate range. In fact, the one county that had a tornado report in the western half of the state was in that moderate risk. So I think it verified to some extent. I think the tornadoes were limited in Alabama based off of the fact that we had rain during the day. And as you know, Wes, if you get rain coming ahead of any severe event, if you don't have that sun coming out, you lose that support. We call it thermodynamic support. It's basically the match that gets things going.
Yeah, you can, if it can rain early in the day and then the sun comes out, that's actually terrible. Because then that's more instability or more moisture for storms to work with. But if the sun doesn't come out, like, you are good that extra moisture is not being able to take advantage of. So there weren't like 102 tornadoes. There were just like 102 sightings of multiple tornadoes.
So that's a great point, Wes, because you see this and you're like, there was 102 tornadoes. No, there was 102 tornado reports. So that can be from, one storm. You could have one tornado that does all that damage through. And a lot of these, if you go back to near Natchez, this is a little bit south of Natchez, Mississippi, but one supercell was kind of by itself. And I was watching this as it unfolded because obviously it goes through Mississippi and we're watching as it gets closer to us. And you had that one supercell that really stayed ahead of the line. There was no contamination, meaning there was no storm that got in the way to cut off its inflow. So it just freely spun right up to about Jackson, Mississippi, and you have at least probably about 24 reports there. So when we talk about the report number, there weren't 102 tornadoes, but there were 102 reports of tornado-like damage or tornado sightings as they go through. And in each National Weather Service office, they'll break this down. Really, the point of this day was to show that severe weather season in the Southeast runs from November to May. Now, where Wes is in Kansas City, it's a different severe weather season. You're a higher latitude. You have a different sort of severe weather season. We're usually done with severe weather once we get into May. Not completely, whereas you're ramping up. So it's not the same everywhere. It's certainly different.
We'll go like March to June is when like we'll get most of our stuff, and then sometimes October, November might get a little bit interesting at times.
We almost, for the first time since 1924, I think we almost did not record rain in October. It was one of the driest.
That's so weird.
So that's why we don't classify October as severe weather season for us, because it's our driest. I think we average about 3.5 inches of rain, maybe 3.8 inches of rain, something in there. We don't get the severe weather usually in October, but December, Christmas time, we had it. That's a look at the loop. I just, as a weather nerd, Wes, this is like looking at a lava lamp, but the atmosphere, you can see you can get a grasp of how the systems worked. You can see that, Pacific jet, subtropical jet, kind of just that feed into the West Coast. And then the little mid-latitude cyclones that spin up in the middle of the country and were responsible for our severe weather. So I just like looking back at that. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing.
I do too. And I know, like, we used to be given these in school and be like, all right, identify all the different systems here just by looking at this loop. And so it's nice to just pick out all the elements of a mid-latitude cyclone. And a mid-latitude cyclone is just like warm front, cold front, low pressure system. Bam. Yeah. That's all.
That was hard at one point. I think we figured it out. We've come a long way, right?
Oh, thank God! Over the last 10 years of doing our job professionally, we've been able to figure it out, thankfully. So speaking of mid-latitude cyclone, we got ourselves a little bit of a mid-latitude cyclone coming through this afternoon here across the middle part of the country. A little bit of a cold front here in Kansas City. We've had some flurries, drizzle, some clouds. Not a whole lot there. Evan, what's it been like in Birmingham?
Beautiful. The winds finally calmed down. As you can see, the front that went through is further east, so we don't have that the gradient winds that are with the front. It's actually really calm today, and it's about 44. So I wouldn't say it's great. It's pretty chilly for us, but okay, 47. That wrapped up the show, but
close enough.
It's not windy anymore. So I would take a straight up 47 versus 50 degrees, but like a really chilly northwest wind, because that's usually when our feels like, or that has that bitter feel to it. So not too bad. We should, be thankful for the sunshine, but another batch of storms over the weekend. What about you?
Be thankful, because dude, we went like a week, without seeing the sun, which is very typical for this time of year. This is for the grayest time of year. This is very, very typical, but it's like 40. 4 degrees here.
You explained that on the last episode, right? About the cloud cover there.
Yeah, the weather systems, the jet streams are just so active. There's so many systems that come through, and you'll get cold air and warm air layers trapping in the moisture and the clouds, and so it's just a super cruddy time of year for the entire country. Like that's even the desert. This is their cloudiest time of year. And whenever I pull out the giant water vapor view, Evan, I feel like I'm honing in on like the old man weatherman vibes here. You're like, all right, here's our storm here off the Gulf of Alaska. Gulf of Alaska. You can see it spinning around there. I don't know. I don't know if James does that or not.
He does. He looks at the water vapor almost daily. Now, whether he shows it on the air or not, but the water vapor imagery for us can be so telling. It tells us exact. I mean, you can point out the features day or night because it's not determined on visible, and it lets you kind of see streamlines. And just like you were talking about the clouds, I mean, you can just see that moisture feed coming out of the Rockies and right into the middle of the country along that front. So
Yeah, a
again,
little moisture right there. Bunch of moisture off the Pacific Northwest. There's one area of low pressure. Like there's like 2 areas of low pressure over here. Let me see if this model picks up on it. A little bit. There's one bigger area of low pressure. But this the kind of turns our attention now to this gigantic area of cold weather that's going to swing through. That one dip came through. That's just one big storm that's going to bring a lot of snow across the central United States. And just that one big dip right here Friday just helps to reinforce the really cold conditions that we'll be seeing. There's Wednesday. Let me back up real quick. Oh, it's always terrible when I don't put the frames, the pause points in there. So we're looking at a temperature anomaly. Evan, what's an anomaly?
that's basically a how far are we away from normal. So if your climo for us today is 55 and 35, how far away, cold or warm, are we from there? And I guess here it'd be the blues would be colder, yellows, reds would be above.
So we are magically warmer than normal today by a little bit. And you guys are a little colder than normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Or does
yeah,
that sound right? Okay.
yeah. We'll be a
Okay.
little bit below today, tomorrow.
Okay. So as the system starts to dig in, we get early next week, way below average temperatures for Kansas City, across the southeast, and you can see this flow. See where that's coming
Man, that
from?
is spilling straight from the Arctic, man.
So that's coming across the good portion of the United States, and it's just kind of sitting here for all of next week. It is not looking fun at all, Evan. In fact, you guys are in the even higher than likely average to be below colder than normal temperatures.
Yeah, and when you talk about anomalies too, everywhere's going to be different, right? Because your average high and low in Kansas City is a lot different from ours this time of year. We are at the point of the year where we have, I think we're right in that window of the coldest climo for us temperature wise. The coldest average low is 35, coldest average high is 54. And so anything below there is going to be considered below average. So on the CPC map, it'll show up as that darker blue. It's going to be really cold in New England and in Kansas City. But even though the blue is not as dark, it's still cold, but just compared to what you guys typically see or what those locations are used to, acclimated to, it's not a huge deviation.
Yeah,
In the plains.
and that's just the 8 to 14. So that's like beyond the 7 day forecast. Do you
6
guys
to
show
10
us?
is worse.
Yeah, say well, it's temperature, it's precip. There we go. That's 6 to 10. So everybody pretty much east of the Rockies, colder than normal. Man, southeast is just good luck.
Yeah, and the fact, I don't know, Wes, if you have a graphic for it or not, but the biggest question I've had on social media, and I'm sure the people who watch this might wonder, we have a lot of terms in weather that can sometimes sound scarier than they are. A polar vortex, there it is. What the heck is the polar vortex? Tell the people.
All right. Well, I think I had this lined up for a certain. Okay, so if you look at the cold weather outlook, right? See how there's this dip on the East Coast, and in the 6 to 10 day, it was even more pronounced there on the East Coast. I'll pull it up real quick. Oh, it's 6 to 10 day. Okay, so big cold air on the East Coast, and then when you look at the disrupted or the weaker polar vortex, that coincides really well with that dip in the blue that we were seeing for colder than average temperatures. But the polar vortex is essentially a big spinning cold area across the North Pole. When it's stable or strong, it stays up there. When it gets disrupted or it's weaker, it starts to dip down like what we're seeing right now, Evan.
Yeah, and the thing that people hear polar vortex, and the question they get is like, is there really, really bad weather that can come with it? And there certainly is. In some instances, like you showed there on one of the future products, is you can have blizzard-like weather, but polar vortex is a fancy term for it is a swirling area of cold air. It always exists at the poles, both the North and South Pole. Obviously, in the wintertime, it's more pronounced because it's colder, so the cold air has more of an influence. But when that polar vortex or that extends down into our part of the country, it's just a change in the pattern that's allowing that cold air to spill well into the South, and well into New England. And if you get the right setup, we've been talking about it here in Alabama all week, you can have the cold, you can have the moisture, but unless you line them up, you can't get the winter weather. We can't get the snow. And that's something down here in the South that we struggle with, is getting that Arctic air like what we're going to see, but also getting a system to come through timely that can give us that snow.
Well, let's just see how cold it's going to be down there because it's going to be cold here, like no matter what. But you guys are a little more sensitive to the cold here.
We are. We're very sensitive. Us Southerners, we don't take well to the cold.
I should have put a day on here. Let me put a little day time on here real quick.
Yeah, I would like to say we did a poll on this here, and when you have your first digit is a 4, so anything in the 40s, that is a cold day for a high. And once you get below 30s for a low, that's really cold. And we've had, I want to say, already had about 15 days we verified in the 20s here at the greater Birmingham area. So it's actually been, we've had our stretches of cold weather here since December. November was very warm, but I don't think people, even with the cold air, are completely geared up for what is to come next week.
All right, so really starts to come in like Sunday morning. Okay, so there's no, we'll back up to Saturday. So Saturday afternoon, below freezing here. Okay, so 4s are cold for you all. Is that what we
When you're
deduced?
talking high temperature, sunny day, 48, I think that's chilly.
All right, so
Almost
that's
chilly.
so it's chilly Saturday.
Okay.
Sunday, there you go. Look at this. You got a little bit of a warm front.
That's not good though. That puts us in the warm sector, and I don't want to deal with severe weather again on a
Is
weekend.
that?
I had to come up here. I spent the night here. I don't
Oh
need.
God. Hey, I may be doing that Saturday night work, and then like here comes Monday morning, like 5. It may be colder than that. It may be like 5 in Kansas City. Um,
You're gonna have wind with that.
that's the tough thing. Yeah, let's just jump to the wind chill, because that's what people really are kind of focused on, is just like what the wind makes it feel like, because no one cares what the actual temperature is, and people we try to correct people and say, well, the temperature was so and so. It's like, no, that's what the wind chill was. It wasn't the actual temperature. Get it
Yeah,
right.
when it comes to those days, I like to show the wind chill or the heat index in the summer. We have that a lot because who cares what a thermometer 2 meters up in the shade is going to measure? Which, by the way, for you at home, if you want to measure your temperature in your backyard, 2 meters off the ground in the shade.
Yeah, get it
If you
right.
if you put
Get
a
it
thermometer,
scientifically right.
did that sound angry?
Do it right. If you want to be a co-op observer, do it right.
You want to be a sky watcher.
All right, so here you go. Sunday afternoon. It is 55 in Birmingham and 0 in Kansas City.
Oh boy.
And that these are. Let me get this bad boy out. Like this is
That
below
is,
0 for sure.
I don't see those color palettes almost ever.
You don't see
No. That is yeah.
negative 22.
Nope. Whole lot of nope.
All right, so then we'll go, and it hasn't even started to get it's worse yet here in Kansas City. Tuesday morning, it's like negative 10 for the wind chill. Memphis, oh sorry, I'm back at Birmingham. 3 o'clock 35 for the wind chill on Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday morning, Birmingham feels like about 20.
Okay. You're painting this and it looks like we're going to be balmy. I mean, negative 12? Good Lord. I guess I can't complain.
Negative 15. These is freeze your pants type of weather here
What do
locally.
you do, Wes? What do you do to walk outside as someone who's not ever, the coldest temperatures I've ever felt, it was 4 degrees in Kennesaw, Georgia. What
Pretty
does
cold.
it feel like when you go outside at negative 15?
Like it's not. Is it definitely cold? Yes, but you have to put on like hat, gloves, like everything. Like you can expose your face, but if you're outside with an exposed face for like 15 minutes, like it starts to hurt. a little bit, and it's not like too bad. It's not like you're like sitting there writhing in pain. You're like, all right, this is like now uncomfortable, because you're at like that frostbite in 30 minutes kind of a situation. So
Gee.
it's not terrible, no, but it's very very uncomfortable. Something I want to point out here is you see this big blob of turquoise.
Yeah.
That's where the model thinks there's snow on the ground, and so it makes that area even colder. And you can see like the mountains have that, the Dakotas. That's where the model thinks there's snow, and so it'll be even colder over there. As we get into Thursday, we'll try to get in the positives for wind chills. Birmingham, what are you doing down there? You had 30 below freezing. That's a big deal.
They are softballing it in there.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, we believe it or not, down here west, we have a lot of people who don't have central heating. It's more prominent in southeast Alabama and the Wiregrass, but here in central Alabama, there are folks who do not have central heating because this will mean not much to the common person, but we do look at heating degree and cooling degree days. It's a measure of days where the temperature is so high that you need to turn on cooler air, or is so cold that you need to turn the heat on, and they can figure that out for a specific city. And we don't have a ton of heating degree days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what our biggest concern is you have people sometimes, of lesser income or more impoverished areas that don't have heating, and trying to figure out where they can go. We have a lot of warming stations that open when it gets below 32. So that's a really big thing for down here. Outside of us just randomly complaining about the cold, that is probably the biggest impact. So,
speaking of that, I think most people remember what happened in Dallas a few years ago. All the power problems. Really, we'll be interested to see what happens in Dallas, Memphis. There's the whole power pool. Like right here, roughly that works off the same power pool. And so if it starts to get strained in some of these really large metros, may have to take some, which I don't know if it'll be noticeable for us, but like they may have to start implementing some power energy saving measures.
that's so interesting you bring that up. I did not realize that was all like one power grid. Was there ice involved when that happened a couple years ago, or was it just?
Yeah, there was ice, snow, and I think it was like days of sub freezing icy temperatures in Texas that would cause that to really be a big problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that. So definitely something to watch.
Well, speaking of, let's see what happens here. What run of the year are we working with? This is the 12Z. Oh, is it in? Cool.
12Z's
Okay.
done. See, I don't get to work with that in the morning. The 12Z's never done, and the 6Z only goes out a couple days. So
Get the zero. You're a 0Z guy.
I'm a 0Z guy, 0Z
All
all
right.
the way, and I'll peek at the 6Z GFS.
All right. So here comes that area of high pressure over Birmingham. Hey, that's good. That's good. That keeps your weather quiet.
Yep, but
Saturday.
people want snow.
Oh, people are going to get snow up here at least. So it's kind of Saturday afternoon to Saturday evening, from the Mountain West, Dakotas, Nebraska, here in Kansas City, is when it starts to get a wintry mix of sleet, freezing rain, snow, and then by Sunday night and or pardon me, Saturday night into Sunday, it is just heavy snow, super duper heavy snow. Um, some icy conditions in southern Missouri, into the mid South, and then Birmingham. Here comes your rain on Sunday afternoon. Well, what's the time look like for you guys?
I've got the timing, round of showers in the morning, and then so the warm front is going to pull in, I think, some warmer temperatures in the afternoon, and then we're going to get the frontal boundary itself, I think, overnight. So that's why I was saying I need that to not happen, because I spent last Saturday night here, and I don't need to spend Sunday night / Monday here. So, but yeah, we're looking at rain in that same time frame, that overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning. Yeah, there it is.
That looks like a QLCS, buddy. I mean, I don't know if it's a severe QLCS, but that looks like something.
I could take a QLCS into a stable atmosphere. That's a good soaking rain. Sometimes a lot of thunder. The issue here, Wes, is for us, it's how warm can we get things. We don't typically have severe weather with temperatures in the 50s. You got to get those dew points usually into the 60s, temperatures in the 60s. So that's the big question at this point. I've got it as very marginally severe, mainly a rain. But if we do get a QLCS, as you know, you get enough momentum with that, you can have a wind wind event. So
Damage, lovely, lovely. Well, a lot of trees down there to destroy.
Pine Tree Farms,
A lot of
big
trees.
enterprise. Yep.
All right. Well, let's just get to it, Evan.
Is this the snow?
Let's just get to it, bro. Here we
Can we
go.
talk about the fact that the GFS is off its rocker? Like that's one of the models we looked at.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We could definitely talk about that.
So this is fun because you've got people, and this is one
What
of
we
my
got
pet
here?
peeves, Wes. And you guys will people who listen to this, which there might be about 4, which is fine. They might be family members, but that's fine. My pet peeve is these people taking the screenshots of the GFS, which is like it's the only model really. There's like 51 ensemble model members, and this is the one that's showing the snow. The
Oh,
rest,
so yeah, Birmingham. Oh, you're toast, bro. You're toast.
hey man, you put an inch of snow down here, you'd be surprised. This place would be in big trouble. But no, it's interesting because it's the lone member really that's too. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Is that like College Station? That's like near
13,
A&M.
13 inches. That'd be so funny. And let's just say this is incredibly unlikely. This is actually going to happen. I'll show you something more realistic here in a minute. But Evan,
Cool. Well, thanks for
continue.
pulling that up.
Continue.
That's
Continue
been
on your rant.
my battle is the GFS, which is a very common model. It handles a lot of events well, but it historically can have all sorts of crazy solutions when it comes to winter weather. And I think this is one of those situations where it's just out to lunch. So with that in mind, I'll let you keep going. I think the Euro has a better grasp on this.
There you go. You got 1 inch coming on the north side.
And if we get a Gulf low with enough moisture, I just don't. I question the moisture availability. So
All right. So here's the chance. Whenever we're like more than 3 days out, whenever we're like 7 days or out, we look at things called ensembles, and it's like a bunch of like 50 different weather models put together, and it gives us chances of something occurring. So the chance of there being an inch of snow across the Midwest, very high. Okay, that's 90% plus from DC, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Rapid City, all the place in the mountains. Okay, so it's like, okay, so we're pretty sure it's going to snow. Okay, what about 3 inches or more? Okay, here's the I-70 corridor, Kansas City, Indianapolis, again, West Virginia. Like, okay, it is definitely going to snow. Like, there's a 90 or greater percent chance that it's going to snow at least 3 inches. So, all right, let's just keep on bumping up here. Okay, like how about 6 inches of snow? Okay,
man, you are just surviving each cut.
there's
Wow.
now a what are we at here? We're at a 90% chance of more than 6 inches of snow north of Kansas City.
If you're a betting man, pretty good odds.
It's pretty good. Birmingham, you're good. You're safe.
We're okay. We're not getting 6 inches. Thanks for that.
You're safe from 6 inches of snow. And for fun, I'm going to change the data here. And let's go 12 inches. What are the chances of getting more than 12 inches of snow? And
Oh my gosh, you're there.
different color table. Let me switch this back here. This may have gone up actually in the last couple of runs.
I'm about to say, from what I saw this morning, I didn't think
Dude.
there was that much. I don't pay as close attention to y'all, but that's still. Hey,
So like a 25% chance of more than 12 inches of snow. It's pretty funny.
what is your? Do you know offhand? I don't mean to like pigeonhole you here, but like what
You're
your
good.
like the most snowfall you've received in a 24-hour period, or like what your record is?
Honestly, no, I don't.
I'd be interested to know, like, because
Like
if
foot, maybe. I think maybe like a little more than a foot.
so, imagine that if there's a 20% chance of you having 12 inches or more, that would be like a 100-year type snowstorm, if you can call it that.
Maybe, yeah. I'll have to figure out like how often we get 12 inches in 24 hours. The thing is, that's occurring like in an area that there isn't a whole lot of weather records. It's like up here, so it's kind of sparse. It would need to be somewhere closer to Kansas City to get a better representation. But I do want to go back to that Texas snow situation. And so this is the chance of 1 inch of snow. And remember, there's like 9 inches down here, but that previous model was like 9 inches.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a 1% chance of that actually occurring, of getting more than 1 inch. So that is why, Evan, And I'm with you on this. A one model run snowfall forecast is just pretty dumb.
It's wishful, and I get people wanting to be excited about it, but to put it out there and to share it as a possible solution when there's dozens more showing the opposite, to me is just, you have to weed through that as a broadcast meteorologist and be like, ah. And then you're crushing everyone's hopes and dreams because they want snow.
So I'm right now for Kansas City, we're going with 4 to 8 inches of snow. Again, that's like for Kansas City proper, because there's a 90% chance up here you get more than 6 inches, and you have to leave a bit of wiggle room. But I mean, 10 inches is definitely on the table at this point for snow. Let's just see what the Euro is doing real quick. Oh yeah, that's got us in.
Man, it's 12
That's got 12 right there. Yeah.
See, in the Euro, I remember last year with some of the snows, the Euro handled it really well. And I don't know why that is. I'm not a model junkie. I look at them every day like you do, Wes. I don't know the algorithms and the differences and why some handle others better. But it felt like last year the Euro did a pretty good job with a lot of winter events. Certainly with the cold down here, we had one ice event. I believe it was in January. Might have had a second in February, but oh man.
Lake effect snow up there.
Yep. That'll
as
just
well. There you go. Nothing but Buffalo.
Nothing's
A little
popping up.
bit. Trying to get a little bit in Dallas there still. Trying to get a little bit.
I'd say right now there's a better chance in Central Texas than in Central Alabama, the way it's looking.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just Evan about to go through just medium for you guys again. A really cold period of weather. We'll have to deal with snow and even nasty. The snow may not get off the ground for a week or two here locally.
What'll be fun next week, Wes, is when we do this, we'll have to show the overview, like the satellite map where you can see the snow cover. I always think that's so cool where the snow line is.
I wonder, can I pull it up real quick?
I know Barron has an analysis.
But yeah, it will tell you where the snow is, U.S. snow cover.
But then you can sometimes see it on the high-res satellite.
Let's see if I can get it. Show up at all? You can see a little bit. Yeah. Right here. If you keep your eyes right there, as we kind of filter through, you can see that white stuff doesn't move.
You can see where the rivers are at. The kind of like in the state. That's cool. And I love that you touched on the colder air, because we have to look at, Nashville will get snow. Tennessee will get snow. Last year we had 6 inches of snow in the northern, quarter of Alabama. And when we had northerly winds, it made us so much colder because you had winds coming off of snowpack. And I think we'll be far enough away from it, but like I'd completely forgot about that. Your winds coming off of a snow-laden surface are going to be a lot colder.
All right, well, let's take a peek over here in Sacramento. Is that what Sacramento's that we called for?
That's what you called for.
All right, this Sacramento.
Meteorologist Wes Peary special.
All right, it says 39 degrees at 6 a.m. in Sacramento, California. I actually haven't picked a day yet for what day we want to forecast for. Today's Thursday. Do you want to do like Sunday? Forecast the weather for Sunday?
So what is that, 3 days out? I feel like 1 to 3 days is what I would say pretty good in the wheelhouse of. So we'll forecast today for Sunday.
Okay. So I will email you my forecast for Sacramento. You email me. See what I'm saying here? We'll email each other the forecasts by the end of the day today.
And we'll go with what? The closest within degree-wise. And then if it comes down to like a tiebreaker, if there's any accumulated rain or snow.
Yeah. I think that sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Sky cover should be pretty simple. I think we're starting off easy here in California. So they're pretty simple weather.
The only hesitation with California is just never really studying the West Coast is the impact of the mountains. Like, I understand the mountains down here. and then you're right next to a cold body of water. Well, what am I used to forecasting next to is a warm body of water. We've got the Gulf down here. You know, it just goes to show that your meteorologists, wherever they are in the country, they probably have their specialties, things that they're more familiar with locally.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be
All right.
interesting.
KSMF is what we're forecasting for. That's the
KSMF. Okay.
KSMF for Sunday. I'll figure it out. And you know, I'm in the middle of the country, so I have no idea either.
It's different everywhere.
Maybe I'll use Moss.
Do you have any final thoughts, errors, and omissions?
No, I appreciate your brother for
Yeah,
telling me that I was right. A correction to my correction?
Yeah, so you said Miami was the wettest, you thought, and then you went digging down some list and were like, wait a minute. Then I showed this to my brother and he was like, no, you know, Wes is right. So we can get rid of that error.
Is that Carson?
That's Carson, yeah.
Thanks, Carson.
So he's very
Thanks for looking
smart.
out for me.
He's an engineer, so he took thermodynamics to a whole different level in his profession. But no, next week we'll have to talk about basically what ended up happening. So to recap, like really quick, you know, we're calling for snow, big area of snow, Kansas City over to, you know, potentially Kentucky if this holds together, Lexington, maybe the Ohio Valley. I'm not very optimistic on the snow here, certainly not through the first half of next week. It's going to be cold everywhere, right? I mean, do we have any highlights outside of that? Maybe some snow in Texas?
The snow in Texas thing will be, yeah. We'll definitely touch on that to see what happens, because that will be showing up or not showing up by the time we reconvene on Monday.
Remember it, people here who watch, call us out on it, you know, right or wrong. That's what we do. We figure out what we got right, what we got wrong. We're the wise guys, so we shouldn't get it wrong. Wise weather guys will be back next week. Episode 3, right?
That's right. Yes, sir. All right. We'll see y'all then.